It is time for my Christian review of regular books and no spoiler review of Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Let's get into it. Before you go anywhere else, I just want to remind you to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you can stay up to date on all of the Christian reviews of regular books, because we're literally posting them all the time and I don't want you to miss them. Also, make sure to follow me on Instagram and on TikTok, and I do actually have my own YouTube channel, so if you're wanting to see more of my day-to-day reading journey, you can do so by following me in all of those places. Links are down in the description box. I just want to give you a little heads up about what these Christian reviews are all about. First, I do my regular review, what you know and love to expect from a book review, and then I get into my Christian review, and that's where I go over the basic pieces of a book that may or may not have a fellow believer or really anyone wanting to read it. If you're wanting more information about these Christian reviews and in detail, there's a video that's pinned at the top of the playlist, and there should be a little box somewhere here where you can click on it as well. But let's go ahead and get into this regular review. Project Hail Mary was always told to me as like a very kind of warm and cozy sci-fi. And I like thriller sci-fis when I watch them on TV, but up until the point that I read this book, I had not really read a whole lot of science fiction books, at least not ones that weren't hugely popular. Now, this book has a really good recommendation to listen to the audiobook, and I'm going to tell you right now that if you at all do immersive read, audiobooks read, you have to read the audiobook because it is just so much better in audiobook form. I also think that there's a lot of science in this book. So if you're not a science girly or guy, this book may be a little bit hard for you to keep up with because it's very complicated. Like, it has so much stuff that just went so far over my head. But I've really learned the lesson that with science fiction, it's not like fantasy where you need to understand all of the science in order to understand the ultimate storyline. You may miss a piece here or there, but it's not going to impact the overall experience of the book. So once I kind of figured that out, I just ignored the science and enjoyed the story. On top of that, when I first started this book, I thought, I don't know how this is going to be a warm and fuzzy book. It doesn't feel very warm and fuzzy. And I could not explain to you how or why it turns into a comfort, but it does. So just trust me on it. And if you haven't gotten to that part yet when you're reading it, just keep going, okay? Just keep going. I promise you, it'll be worth it. Ultimately, I absolutely loved this book. I felt like the character was so funny. I loved the sarcasm. I loved the narration. I loved so much about this book, and I rated it 4.5 stars. Now let's go ahead and get into my Christian review. The first category I always love to touch on is if there's any smut or spice, and no, there is not. There is like some thoughts that could go to a more romantic space, but it doesn't, and I'm very grateful for it. The second category is if there's any explicit language, and yes, there is some explicit language. The characters are quite communicative with their words, you know? So there is some of that, but it's not awful or terrible or overextensive. It's just present. Really though, other than those two categories, there is not much else that I need to warn you about. This book is truly just pretty clean and super fun, and I had a great time reading it. I will say that the age range is probably 15, 16, maybe even 14. I think that the story is funny and quirky and super unique, and I would totally let my teenager read this book and have a fun time with it. As always, you can find everything that I'm reading and rating in real time by following me on Goodreads. You can also find me on Instagram and on TikTok, like I mentioned before. Make sure to follow me in all those places to stay more up to date with what I'm reading all the time. And I will definitely see you on the next one.